Finish that section. So just 3 days ago, we started another section. That is visiting Vaikuntha, and then visiting, next is Ayodhya and Dwarka and Vrindavan. So we started reading Canto 3, Chapter 15, that's the 4 Kumaras go to the gates of Vaikuntha. You know, that cursing of Jai Vijay and all of that. So there's a description of the kingdom of God in that chapter, Canto 3, Chapter 15. You have a copy here, Srimad Bhagavatam. And then they never go into the gate. They go to the 7th gate and they're stopped. But they go beyond that in when Gopa Kumar enters Vaikuntha in Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Now this book, it's written by Sanatana Goswami. You know who is Sanatana Goswami, yes? Lord Chaitanya had 6 principal associates living in Vrindavan, and the senior most amongst them was Sanatana Goswami. Born in a Saraswat Brahmin family, but during that period of time, he was under Muslim rule, and he had, by force of circumstance, had to accept some government service, so his community rejected him because he took government service from Muslim man. He left that service. He was prime minister under Nawab Hussain Shah, was ruling about half of, or a third or a half of today's India. He left, went to Vrindavan, became a mendicant. Highly wealthy, educated, learned, well-positioned person, left it all to live like a mendicant in Vrindavan. Instructed by Lord Chaitanya for 30 days in spiritual teachings at Dashashvamedha Ghat in Benares, and then went to make Vrindavan his place of residence. And this is one of his books. Brihat Bhagavatamrita is the title. And one sense it's a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. It's many things, but that's one way to describe what it is. And it has 2 parts. And the second part, the first part is this thick. The second part has 2 volumes this thick. So that's one book. And in the second part, there's this story. It's not a fiction story, but it's a young boy who was born in Vrindavan as a son of a cowherd. His name was Gopa Kumar. Kind of like the 4 Kumars, he always maintained a small boy form. Although he went all kinds of places over long periods of time, he maintained a small boy, cowherd boy form and dress and mood. He received a mantra from a guru in Vrindavan, and the guru told him that this mantra will bestow upon you all desirable things. So he started with mixed desire and gradually came to unmixed desire. Something like Dhruva started with mixed desire. Only Dhruva wanted a kingdom, but this Gopa Kumar was just like an adventuresome soul that through the power of his mantra, he went to this place, that place, the other place, and very elevated places. So in one circumstance, through the power of his mantra, he began seeing Krishna everywhere in Vrindavan, this earthly realm, Vrindavan. And he was very anxious to actually participate in Krishna's pastimes. So what happened was a Vaikuntha Vimana descended. They invited him to come aboard, and off they went, covering the upper planetary systems, through the coverings of the universe, into the Brahmajyoti, saw the abode of Shiva and Shivaloka, went to Vaikuntha. So it's pretty fantastic. So it describes what he saw in Vaikuntha. He saw the Supreme Lord in the opulences and everything. And then he saw the Supreme Lord in some affectionate exchange between them. And his heart was still, on the one hand, satisfied, and the other hand, not satisfied because he was hankering deep, deep, deep inside to not just see Gopal, Lord Gopal, because the mantra he received was the Madan Gopal mantra. So he wanted to not just see Madan Gopal, but he wanted to be and enter into pastimes with him as he experienced in his meditations when chanting the mantra. And it wasn't the same in Vaikuntha. So one day, he had stayed there for some time, and one day Narada came to him, and they had some exchanges. So Narada started giving him teachings in a private place, confidential teachings. So where we ended up yesterday evening, among the confidential teachings, Narada was explaining about the forms of the Lord and the forms of the devotees of the Lord in Vaikuntha. And they're all Sat Chit Ananda forms. The Lord assumes a form according to the love and affection and mood of service of the devotee, even in Vaikuntha. Normally we hear four-armed Narayan with symbols of Vishnu, etc. Narada explains sometimes, depending upon the mood of the servitor, the Lord will show, just like Gopa Kumar was seeing, there's Narayana surrounded by Dharani and Lakshmi and the other associates, but he was seeing Krishna, Gopal, with the other associates of Vrindavan, but there were pastimes. So he's explaining why that is. The Lord shows to his devotee the form to correspond to his love. And the devotees in Vaikuntha, the pure devotees, they may assume different forms according to their inspiration for pleasing the Supreme Lord. Now we hear about things like this, even like, say, for example, in Ramayana, where Maricha and others had the capacity to assume different forms, even demons. Or the associates of the Vanaras, they had mystic powers, and like Hanuman, he could assume whatever form he liked. So in the spiritual world, they can assume whatever form they like, and their liking is just to serve the Supreme Lord. So in different moods of wishing to serve the Supreme Lord, who has different desires for happiness, and they're fulfilling that desire for happiness, so it's the perfect loving relationship. So that was what we heard. It's where we ended up yesterday. Now we're going to continue. Although there's differences of form, there's not a hierarchy in the material sense of hierarchy. Like I'm better than you kind of hierarchy. There's no snobbish I'm better than you mentality. There's differences, and they assume different functions and different services and different moods and so forth, but there's equality. This equality is created by a special potency of the Lord, a playful aspect of his spiritual self. As Krishna assumes various forms for his pastimes, this special potency creates a variety of ecstasy in devotional service. That was Narada's instruction. Now Gopa Kumar is going to ask some more questions. I then asked, "My Lord, divine deity forms of the Supreme Lord, like Purushottama, the master of Niladri, are present on earth, and you consider them embodiments of eternity, knowledge, and bliss." So I'm going to skip. There's a whole section on deity worship. It's a nice section, but the focus is Vaikuntha, then Ayodhya, then Dwarka. So Narada is expert in deity worship. Narada Pancharatra is a literature in which he describes procedures and mantras and everything for deity worship. Narada Pancharatra. Then the concluding discussion on the deity worship topic goes like this. When the Puranas and other scriptures make statements that belittle deity worship, meaning it's for neophytes, sometimes it's said like that, you should understand that all such statements refer to those particular worshippers, not to all devotees. If such materialistic worshippers never give up their worship under any circumstance, their dedication will purify their hearts. Then, by the mercy of Krishna's devotees, who see only the good qualities of others, the faults of such worshippers will be exhausted, and in time those worshippers too will become first-class devotees. Devotees who have material desires first enjoy the material results for which they hanker, and later, on the strength of devotional service, they enjoy the true fruit of devotion. But because that fruit does not at first appear, pure devotees decry what those worshippers first achieve. Pure devotees, after all, think that seeing the Lord constantly, attaining bliss from taking part in his pastimes, and relishing subsequent pleasures are the fruit of devotional service, and its root as well. Those devotees cannot tolerate even a moment's delay in obtaining that fruit. This is what Rupa Goswami identifies as laulyam, or greed. That's a bad quality in material world, but spiritually it's a good quality. They're not attached to something fruitive or greedy for money or position or honor or something. They're excessively eager or greedy for being in their relationship with Krishna. It's a qualification for spiritual progress. And the Lord cannot neglect such devotees even for a moment. Thus, all the other fruits of desires, material ones, are paltry, even liberation from the personality of Godhead. They are easily obtained, but pure devotional service is not. By the mercy of pure devotional service, the personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, becomes subordinate to his devotees. This, in effect, deprives him of independence. So pure devotional service he rarely bestows. In my opinion, the Lord's coming under the control of his dearmost servants creates no unhappiness or fault of any kind. Rather, it creates great joy and broadcasts such glorious qualities of the Lord and his affectionate concern for his devotees. The way the chief of expert heroes voluntarily submits to his devotees is supremely dear and attractive because it contradicts his self-satisfaction and certain other of his natural qualities. It is the ultimate perfection of Godhead. So what's being described here, it's Gopa Kumar wants to go to Vrindavan. So he's preparing him to go to Vrindavan by explaining the kind of love that exists in Vrindavan. And it's a love where the devotees have this super excellent love. They don't know anything but Krishna. They don't want to know anything but Krishna. They're totally dedicated to Krishna. And that love that they have for Krishna controls Krishna. Not like put him in your pocket, walk down the street kind of control, but emotionally, relationally, he's moved by that love. So he does things simply to reciprocate with their love. That's Krishna in Vrindavan, nothing else. In the final maturity of devotional service, in pure love, sometimes a unique treasure appears called Mahabhava, the highest stage of ecstasy, with the vision of truth. One sees it in the kingdom of the greatest delight, where it dances exuberantly upon the ramparts. And yet, the peculiar nature of Mahabhava is that outwardly it shows the signs of terrible distress, sorrow, and pain. We discussed this when we were visiting Ayodhya and discussing the Ayodhya Kanda section of Ramayana. When Ram announces that he's going to the forest, and this crescendo of sorrow smashes everybody. His mother and Lakshman and Dasarath and Sumantra, and everybody gets smashed. Sorrow and sorrow and sorrow and sorrow and sorrow. Some people have told me, I don't like to read Ramayana because it's too sad. Too much. Have to close it. But what we're hearing is, although it looks sad, it's an ecstasy, which sounds contradictory, but with the science of rasa, which is described in Rupa Goswami's writings, it's an ecstasy. It's a secondary rasa that covers the primary rasa, but it's an ecstasy. So that's what, externally, this Mahabhava looks really sad, terrible, distressful, painful. And although these signs are but external, the Lord can never tolerate seeing such a state in his most beloved devotees. When persons addicted to mundane vision see the bewildering symptoms of ecstasy born of pure love of God, they ridicule the devotees, because such mundane persons have no desire to achieve devotional service. The Supreme Lord withholds from them his prema bhakti. There's a later section in this Brihat Bhagavatamrita where, again, Narada, he's in Dwaraka instructing Gopa Kumar, and also present is Uddhava. And he says there's some pastimes in Krishna that are so, you just don't talk about these pastimes with worldly people because they'll just totally misunderstand. And then he just mentions, like Krishna's leaving Vrindavan. Don't talk about this with mundane people because they'll get really discouraged. Oh, that's going to happen if I get involved in love for Krishna. No way, I'm not getting involved in love for Krishna. Because it looks so sad. The resident of Vrindavan seeing Krishna depart. But he says it shouldn't be spoken about, and then he speaks about it for like many pages. Because it's actually very sweet. It stimulates ecstatic love for Krishna, although it looks very sad. And how the Gopas and the Gopis and the elders and everybody behave. They go mad. And Krishna leaves. And they want to give up their life. because they're so attached to Krishna. So it's very interesting topic. Devotional service endowed with prema is very rarely achieved. In contrast, the enjoyments of heaven are easy to obtain, and so too is freedom from material existence, liberation. People rarely, if ever, find a chinta, money, gem, a wish-fulfilling stone. Chinta, money. They usually find only glass, or sometimes gold. Only once in a while does the Supreme Lord give bhakti, and only to a rare, intelligent person who desires only that, indifferent to the opinions of the world. We are not able to describe completely the special ecstatic state, nor is it proper for us to do so. And even if the most perfect scriptures, those dedicated to promoting devotional service, were to describe it in detail, the effect on ignorant people would be contrary. Persons who serve the transcendental taste of this ecstasy can realize its super excellence and sweetness, since you, this is Narada speaking to Gopa Kumar, since you belong to the place where Mahabhava is known, very soon you will surely come to understand it by the mercy of the Lord. He's preparing him for that eventuality and for us to get some picture of what's it like there, because that's kind of how we started this whole section. We're encouraged in religions of the world to want to go to heaven. But what's it like there? Well, you should want to go there. Okay. But what's it like there? You don't get an answer. What to speak of the distinction between heaven and the kingdom of God, and what to speak of what the kingdom of God is like, and what to speak of the differentiation between Vaikuntha and Ayodhya and Dwarka and Mathura and Vrindavan. Where's that in scriptures of the world? So what's the travel advertisement? What's the marketing for wanting to go there? What's it like? So he's giving Gopa Kumar the picture of what it's like. Not just, put it in your GPS and this is how you get there. But when you get there, this is what it's like. Very special. Very special. Then Gopa Kumar said, "These words of Narada greatly increased my anxious eagerness to see the lotus feet of Sri Gopal, my worshipable Lord. Quickly, a powerful storm-like urge arose in me, a hope to achieve the kind of ecstasy that Narada had just described. Seeing me cast by this hope and eagerness into an ocean of sorrow, Narada spoke consolingly. Sri Narada said, 'Although this topic is most confidential and should not be talked about here,' they're in Vaikuntha, he's talking about what's beyond Vaikuntha, 'by the weight of your anxiety, I'm being forced to speak openly. Far from here lies Ayodhya, the splendid city of Raghupati, the divine master of the Raghu dynasty. And beyond that shines the city of Dwarka, dear to the divine master of the Yadus. Dwarka resembles the blessed and charming Mathura. Go to that Dwarka and worship with your eyes your beloved Lord.'" So we were having some discussion in one of the homes in Palatine. we in ISKCON we're accustomed to hearing that there's Devi Dham, Mahesh Dham, Hari Dham, and Goloka Dham. It's right from Brahma Samhita. Goloka Namni Nijadamni Tale Chatasya Devi Maheshu Hari Dhama Soteshu Teshu. So, Devi Dham, Mahesh Dham, Hari Dham, and Goloka Dham. And it's said that Ayodhya is in the topmost region of Haridham. So, what's the scriptural reference for that? Right here in Brihad Bhagavatamrita is one of them. This verse that we just read, 239. There's a section in Padma Purana that I'll read. There are innumerable divine abodes and many Vaikunthas of the various avatars of Vishnu, Dwaraka, Mathurapuri, Goloka Vrindavan, etc. in the Tripad Vibhuti. Tripad Vibhuti means the three quarters. That was just beyond the river Viraja. The river Viraja divides the spiritual and material realm. So beyond the divide of the Viraja, there's the three-quarter portion, Tripad Vibhuti. So that's the spiritual realm. And in that spiritual realm, there's abodes of the Lord. And all of those are made up of Shuddha Sattva, and all are filled with the supreme bliss of Brahmananda. Beyond all those, there is the supreme abode of Vishnu, Adi Vaikuntha. The devotees and servants of the Lord's lotus feet reside in the supreme Adi Vaikuntha, that supreme abode of Bhagavan Vishnu, the very embodiment and bestower of the bliss of Brahman. At that very center, Adi Vaikuntha, in the spiritual sky, is situated the divine city renowned by the name Ayodhya, which is adorned and filled all around with amazing multi-storied buildings and picturesque vimanas. The divine city of Ayodhya is in the middle of the topmost part of Adi Vaikuntha Loka. It shows Sri Ram's abode, divine Ayodhya, as the original root source of all Vaikuntha Lokas, and even the Adi Vaikuntha Loka, the abode of Adi Narayan, is present in the outer circle of divine city of Ayodhya. So it's a little complicated, but it's in the topmost region of Haridham, or Vaikuntha realm. So Narada is describing, let's make a journey to go to Ayodhya, where he meets Lord Ram, and the residents of Ayodhya, and it's a very special place. And then from there, Lord Ramchandra takes him aside in a secret place and sends him to Dwarka, and he goes to Dwarka. You want to go? You want to visit Ayodhya? Why not? Through sound we'll go. But first hear from me about an excellent method for approaching Ayodhya. A method approved by those whose only taste is for the service of Lord Ramachandra's lotus feet. Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, the source of all incarnations, and simply by worshipping Him, everything can be obtained. Yet, I shall give you teachings to help you achieve a special taste for the divine lotus feet of Lord Ram, the hero of the Raghus. Practice chants like this. O husband of Sita Raghunath, elder brother of Lakshmana, O Lord, dear master of Sri Hanuman. And remember the qualities, beauty, and power of Lord Ramachandra, as revealed in the Vedas and other scriptures. One should follow whatever path leads to attaining one's worshipable deity. That is the most intelligent way to act. Persons exclusively devoted to their object of worship should be very much attracted to anything in which they find even a faint scent of their deity's presence. If, after you have seen the two lotus feet of Sri Ram, your hankering to see your Lord is unappeased, then Rama, whose heart is soft from overflowing compassion, will happily send you to Dwarka. While going there, perform the Lord's Sankirtan, as it has been described, and you will finally see your own dear Lord, who you have so long desired to see, the charming Krishna Chandra, surrounded by the Yadus. Ayodhya, Dwarka, and other such abodes are all regions of Vaikuntha. Surely, therefore, you need not take permission from the Lord of Vaikuntha to leave and go there. In fact, by his order, I have come here to see you. He knows the movements of everyone's heart, and you should know that from my mouth you have received his order. In any case, the Lord has gone somewhere to bestow his favor on one of his great devotees. Since you will be unable to tolerate having to wait for him, now is the best time for you to go. Then Gopa Kumar said, overjoyed at hearing this, I bowed down repeatedly to Sri Narada, took his blessings, and set out, remembering his instructions. Remember the instructions? O husband of Sita, Raghunath, elder brother of Lakshmana, O Lord, dear master of Sri Hanuman. So he was singing like that. After traveling a long way, I saw some forest monkeys restlessly jumping here and there, shouting, Ram, Ram! As I proceeded, they gathered around me and tried to grab my flute from my hand. Then I saw some humans who were even more beautiful than the associates of the Lord of Vaikuntha. Those men in behavior, like the best of civilized persons, could not tolerate my bowing down to them and showing other signs of respect. They brought me to the boundary of their city and through the main gate. There before me I saw Bharata with Shatrughna, seated comfortably with monkeys like Sugriva, Angada, Jambavan, and surrounded by many handsome men. Thinking Bharata to be Ramachandra, Lord of the Raghus, I recited prayers addressed to that Lord. But Bharata covered his ears and repeatedly forbade me to continue, saying, I'm only a servant. Afraid, I stood motionless with joined palms before Lord Bharat. Hanuman then quickly made me leave that place and enter the inner precincts of the city, where I saw the most amazing sight. The Supreme Lord in his form as the best of human beings. He sat comfortably on a royal throne in the best of palaces, a palace full of charming attractions, happy and marked with all the signs of a great personage. He seemed somewhat like Lord Narayana, but certain especially attractive features distinguished him from that lord. His hand was adorned with a bow. His glances were delightfully modest and humble. Playing the role of a perfect king, he followed all the prescribed rules of religious behavior. I was bewildered by the overflowing ecstasy of his darshan, and I fell down before him as if offering prostrate obeisances. My confusion thus robbed me of the supreme benefit of seeing him. But then, by his mercy, I was able to stand up again and see him clearly. Sri Hanuman left me, pulled back by his own regular service, and in a single jump went to join his Lord. On the left of the Lord, pleasing him with her service, stood his dear counterpart Sita, and on his other side his younger brother, Lakshmana. Sri Hanuman sometimes stood in front of the Lord, fanning him with excellent white chamaras and singing his glories. And sometimes, palms joined, he praised the Lord with wonderful prayers of his own composition. At one moment he carried a white umbrella. At another he massaged the Lord's lotus feet. And yet another he did several kinds of service all at once. Amazing. He was not at the least fatigued by all this. Overwhelmed by the greatest joy, I bowed down again and again, saying, "All glories, all glories." Then that soft-hearted Lord soothed me fully with the gentle nectar of his supremely impressive words. The Supreme Lord said, "My dear son of a cowherd, my best friend, well done. By showing such affection, you have conquered me. Enough with all this exertion. Now just relax. You have made me your dear friend, unhappy for long enough. Please get up. Get up. All good fortune to you. Give up this formal respect, dear friend. I am always controlled by such pure love as yours." Then Gopa Kumar continues explaining. He's speaking to a Brahmana in Vrindavan. On the Lord's order, Hanuman then raised me from the ground and brought me by force to where the Lord was resting, his sacred lotus feet. It then came to my mind that all my long-cherished desires had borne fruit beyond what I had ever hoped. And where else could I have achieved such perfection? I stayed there for some time, as before, in my own dress as a cowherd boy. And in the fullness of bliss, I tasted overwhelmed me. I saw the unique pastimes of the divine Lion of the Raghus, who was playing the role of a king of kings, acting in strict accord with religious principles. But I did not see the unique sweetness I had found within the varied, playful pastimes of my worshipable deity's lotus feet. Nor did I find his special mercy. Thus, even there in Ayodhya, I seemed unhappy. By hearing from Sri Hanuman the glories of Sri Ramachandra's lotus feet, And by directly seeing Lord Rama myself, I dispelled that mental distress. I imagined Lord Ramachandra to have all the qualities of my own worshipable deity. By force of my previous spiritual practices, the land of Braja would impose itself upon my heart, along with a yearning for its special pastimes and mercy. When Sri Hanuman, the best of counselors, would notice this, he would save me by encouraging me with diverse clever arguments. Now it's said that Hanuman is an expert diplomat, so he knew how to say things just the right way and people would be very happy. Hanuman, an expert diplomat, knew how to advise Gopa Kumar in ways he was inclined to accept. So Gopa Kumar stayed for a long time without deciding to leave. Only Lord Rama could stop the cycle of discontent followed by appeasement. Finally, Sri Ram, whose heart is tender with unlimited compassion and who knows the mind of everyone in the world, consoled me with words of gentle affection. Go to Dwarka and be happy, he ordered, and he sent me off at once, together with the chief of bears. So we know who that is, right? Who's that? Jambavan. So that's the end of this chapter, and it's the end of the book, so we're going to end. But I'm going to read the purport to that last verse. Had Lord Ramachandra not personally asked him to go to Dwarka, Gopa Kumar would never have been able to leave Ayodhya. Lord Rama knew perfectly well that Gopa Kumar was a worshipper of Sri Madan Gopal, exclusively devoted to that Lord, and uniquely qualified to attain him. Furthermore, Lord Rama understood that this was why Gopa Kumar was never completely satisfied in Ayodhya, even after tasting supreme ecstasy, and even after being mercifully counseled by Hanuman. It was apparent that only going to Dwarka would make Gopa Kumar happy. The Supreme Lord rarely sends somebody out of his abode, but this time he did so for the happiness of his devotee. He deputed Sri Jambavan, king of the bears, to accompany Gopa Kumar on his way to Dwarka. Jambavan, being the grandfather of Samba, Lord Krishna's son, was an appropriate escort. So Samba was the son of Krishna and Satyabhama, right? Krishna married Jambavati, excuse me. And Jambavati was the daughter of Jambavan. So he has his role in Ram's Leela, and he has his role in Krishna's Leela. He is one of these Chiranjivas that lives for a long time. And as you become familiar with Srimad Bhagavatam, may you continue to read and study and become very familiar with Srimad Bhagavatam. Then in time, because there's references in the Bhagavatam and in Chaitanya Charitamrita of, in the purports, of the writings of the Goswamis, just like this is one of the writings of Sanatana Goswami. And another author is Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were brothers. Sanatana Goswami was the elder brother, so as his culture, the elder brother is regarded by the younger brother as like father and guru. Rupa Goswami's writings are similarly out of sight. They're totally transcendental. And he describes this amazing, in a drama, without the details, but the details are quite amazing, how the gopis who wanted Krishna as their husband, it was arranged. And the 16,108 wives of Krishna and Dwarka were 16,108 gopis. And it's like a far-out description of how that happens. But it's quite mystical. So someday you'll read those literatures, Vidagdha Madhava and Lalita Madhava. You read about them when you read Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Krishna fulfilled his promise. Krishna he's good to his word. Like Ram, but how he fulfills his word is interesting. Ram upheld the word of Dasarath. And Krishna upholds his father's word and his own word. But how he does so is, like this text we read, very playful. It's very playful, very mysterious, very joyful, very wonderful. In the morning class, when we're discussing the Govardhan Leela, just after Krishna puts Govardhan Hill back in place, there's a whole chapter where the elders go to Nanda Maharaj and say, "Who is this boy?" It's called Wonderful Krishna. Adbhuta Krishna. Wonderful Krishna. Wait a minute. He's not one of us. Who is he? Who can do what he just did? Lift a mountain with one hand for 7 days and 7 nights? Who is he? And then not only who is he lifting Govardhan Hill, but he did this and that and the other. They want to know from Nanda, who is he? You're our worshipable elder, so please inform us. And so it's part of the wonder of Krishna's pastimes in Braja that even his intimate associates, they're puzzled, they're bewildered, they're amazed, they're astonished at his pastimes. And Nanda gives his explanation. He repeats what the name-giving ceremony that was conducted by Gargamuni, what that was like, what Gargamuni said. It's really fascinating. Krishna's pastimes are very charming. Not easy to understand. It's not like, oh, I get it. It's not like a material subject matter. It's a transcendental subject matter that just tells us Krishna has unlimited potencies, he has unlimited happiness, he engages with his devotees in inexplicable ways that spins churns their attraction for him, and he steals their hearts, and he's having playful pastimes. But he will always protect his devotees, even when they become proud, like Indra. He's very kind. So that's, we haven't gone yet to Dwarka, but tomorrow. From Vaikuntha to Ayodhya, then Ayodhya to Dwarka tomorrow. And we'll spend some time in Dwarka, and then we'll go to Vrindavan. So let's see if there's some discussion. What happens is online people will send some text in, and while they're doing that, we'll see if someone here has some question or comment, something you'd like to hear discussion about. Okay, you're on.
Thank you, Maharaj. Um, I think you mentioned Ayodhya is beyond Adi Vaikuntha Loka or something like.
The Padma Purana uses that language. Commonly within ISKCON, we just say it like this. There's Haridham or Vaikuntha Dham, they're synonymous. And the topmost region of Haridham or Vaikuntha Dham is Ayodhya. Have you seen that poster that has material universes down here? Yeah? You've seen. In Sunday school or something, right? Anyway, universe is down here. The Vedic cosmology is pictured inside one of the universes. And then the coverings of the universe, and outside the coverings of the universe is the causal ocean. And then dividing the material and the spiritual realm is the river Viraja. And then the other side of the river Viraja is the spiritual sky, Brahmajyoti. And then with the vastness of the Brahmajyoti, there's Vaikuntha planets. And topmost in the Vaikuntha planet region is Ayodhya. It's just speaking of spiritual hierarchy. It's not a geographic GPS system. It's
My question is, whatever the past time happened on planet Earth, Ayodhya in North India,
yeah.
Is it spiritual?
Yes.
Is it considered spiritual?
Yes. Okay. Yes. We know from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the spiritual world, when the material world is dissolved, that part is not dissolved. So there are eternal abodes like Ayodhya in this world. That's spiritual. And the pastimes that Ramchandra performs in the spiritual realm, Ayodhya in the spiritual world, they are manifest here in this world. He descends and performs his pastimes. Now, there's two parts of his pastimes. There's Nitya Lila, the eternal pastimes, and there's another term, occasional pastimes, Naimittika Lila, like the killing of demons. Because there's no demons in Ayodhya. So there's no demon killing in Ayodhya, but so there's occasional pastimes here in this realm. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yes, Maharaj.
You're okay. Did you? How much of this went way over your head? Most of it? How much were you able to understand? Honest. Some of it.
Yeah.
So let's just say we're hearing about something that's beyond our experience.
Mm-hmm.
And when we hear about something that's beyond our experience, how do we process it? Well, it's beyond our experience. We're hearing about what's beyond our experience. That's how we process it. So it's a description of what's in that realm of transcendence. In the Vaikuntha realm, in the Ayodhya realm, etc. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Maharaj, just another question.
Yeah, sure.
So as Gopa Kumar was interacting in Ayodhya with Lord Ram,
Yes.
I know you mentioned he was not still satisfied in that Ayodhya realm.
Yeah.
Still wanted.
And it's a spiritual, not a material dissatisfaction. That is, he has a particular affection, spiritual affection, for the intimacy of the love that Krishna shows in Vrindavan. And that intimacy is not there there's intimacy beyond that of Vaikuntha, but it's not the same. That's the dissatisfaction. It's a spiritual dissatisfaction. It's not a material one.
And
Okay.
also, when he was explaining, it was also mentioned Ram was like soft-hearted.
Very soft.
In what sense that was like brought up? Was
Yes.
there any conversation
Yes.
between Gopa Kumar and Lord Ram?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He is an ideal king, and ideal kings aren't just like, heavy guys. They're very soft-hearted. He's omniscient, as the Lord is omniscient, so he could understand the heart of Gopa Kumar. And if Gopa Kumar had been happy residing there, then fine. But he knew that he wouldn't be happy residing there because of that particular hankering, deep, 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 deep within his heart, for Madan Gopal. And although in one sense spiritually they're the same, in another sense there's characteristics of Madan Gopal that just aren't there in Ayodhya. And he was spiritually attached and hankering for that. And Ram understood. So soft-hearted Ram said, please go. Be happy.
One more follow-up question.
Yeah.
You mentioned Madan Gopal mantra at the beginning of the class.
Yes. Yeah.
What is that?
In the Brahma Sampradaya, so we're Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. In our Sampradaya from Lord Brahma, he received the Vedas from Krishna directly, and then Brahma passed those Vedas on to Narada, Narada Vyasa, etc. So we're in that line of disciplic succession. And of the mantras that Brahma received, the Madan Gopal mantra is one. And we also, in ISKCON, we receive Madan Gopal mantra at Brahminical initiation. Along with Brahma Gayatri, there's other Gayatris. One of them being this Madan Gopal mantra. Okay?
Okay, Maury, thank you.
Anything? Okay. So let's go to online questions.
So this is Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu's question. Where is Sri Mayapur Dham in the spiritual world? Is it in Goloka Vrindavan?
Yes.
So the follow-up is, how will we associate with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and participate in his Leela? As followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are we eligible to participate in both Vraja and Mahaprabhu's pastimes?
Absolutely.
And next question is also from Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu. He quoted this verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.10, purport. Srila Prabhupada writes, in the Padma Purana, Uttarakanda, it is stated that beyond the 1/4 part of God's creation is the 3/4 manifestation. The marginal line between the material manifestation and spiritual manifestation is the Viraja river. And beyond the Viraja, which is transcendental current flowing from the perspiration of the body of the Lord, there is the 3/4 manifestation of God's creation.
Yeah.
So the question is, we hear that Brahmavadis attain Sayujya liberation, merging in Brahmajyoti. Is Brahmajyoti beyond the Viraja river?
Yes.
If then he has a follow-up question, if it is yes. So Brahmavadis, they fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for Krishna's lotus feet.
Yes.
Does this mean those who attain impersonal liberation has to come back? And if so, how can one who goes past Viraja river into spiritual realm fall down?
Because they haven't, how can they, is because they haven't taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. They've gone up, 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 but no shelter, so they come down, 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 down. They come back again. That's how.
This Gopinath's question. Is there a reason why of all incarnations it's Lord Rama's abode that is right below Goloka? Why not any other form?
Well, it wasn't, we didn't decide anything, but why it's you above the Vaikuntha abodes of the Lord is because of the degree of intimacy found in Ram's pastimes. We've discussed this several times, but I don't mind saying it again. In Vaikuntha, Lord Narayana is the predominating deity. So, Gopinath, does Narayana have a mother and father? No. But Ram has mother and father, eternally. Does Narayana have 3 brothers? No. But Ram has 3 brothers. And so forth. There's an intimacy in the exchanges between Ram and his devotees that it's not the same, it's not equal. It's more intimate in Ayodhya than in Haridam. So that's the hierarchy. It's the intimacy part, it's not something else. Okay?
So this is Nandakishore, Vrindavan Prabhu's son. Is there a place or planet in the spiritual world for Lord Jagannath, like other incarnations of Krishna? Will the devotees who worship Lord Jagannath go to that place after this life or go to Goloka Vrindavan?
My understanding is Purushottam Kshetra, that's the name of Jagannath Puri, is Purushottam Kshetra, the place of Purushottama, that's Dwarka, where the Lord shows all opulences, that's Dwarka. So Jagannath is Krishna in Dwarka. So those who worship Jagannath go to Dwarka.
So this is Kasturi Manjari Mataji from yesterday's class. I could not understand the reason Gopa Kumar gives for his incomplete feeling, the feelings of incompleteness.
Well, it's transcendental. First of all, he's feeling satisfied yet not satisfied. Satisfied in terms of knowing that he's with the Supreme Lord. Satisfied in the sense that when he sees Lord Narayana, because of Lord Narayana's knowing Gopakumar's devotion, he shows him his Gopal form. And then Gopakumar sees the Gopal form, and he sees the cowherd boys. You see the associates of Narayana's cowherd boys, and he goes to a forest in Vrindavan, in Vaikuntha, and he sees Krishna with the cows, and he sees, but it's not the same. He's not engaging in those activities, he's seeing, like passively seeing. So it's not the same as the rasa of engaging in pastimes with and actual service with and so on. So that's the dissatisfaction. There's a sweetness that's just not there. Seeing but not participating in loving service. It's not the same.
And this is Rajeshwari Pran Mataji. Gopa Kumar is so fortunate to see the forms of Supreme Lord, but he is still not satisfied. He's in Ayodhya and seeing Lord Ram, but still not satisfied. In our case, whatever mood we have or inclination to the form of Supreme, we will get to that. Do we get to that abode directly when it does happen, or we'll go through all the different abodes?
It's up to the Supreme Lord. But the common, this is my understanding of what's being described is he's given a tour purposefully so he can narrate to this Brahmana the distinction between this Dham, that Dham, the other Dham. It's not just a story, it's his experience, and it's unique. And so the answer to the question is, ordinarily one is taken directly to the abode of the Lord that one is worshipping.
So this is Kirti Prabhu. In today morning Bhagavatam class, I heard that Lord Krishna actually appears in the dynasty of the spiritual moon. In Bhagavad Gita 15:6, it says that spiritual abode is not illuminated by sun or moon. Does it mean that they are present in spiritual world but are not source of illumination?
What it means is, it's not it's Leela, that's short. So, for example, there's no need of sunlight, moonlight, or electricity, but there's day and night. Now, day and night means the sun disappears. But it's night. But there's no need of sunlight because it's self-luminous. But it's a Leela. It's the arrangement that Krishna makes, or Yoga Maya makes for Krishna, for his pastimes. So there's a spiritual sun and there's a spiritual moon. It's said there's not phases of the moon. Every night it's a full moon. For Krishna's pastimes. That's why there's a moon, that's why it's a full moon, it's for Krishna's pastimes. So it doesn't follow material rules, in other words, it's a spiritual arrangement of his Yogamaya potency, all these things.
This question is from Radha, Atulya Mataji's daughter. When mundane people hear about Krishna leaving Vrindavan and his devotees becoming sad, they become discouraged to worship Krishna. So then why does Krishna perform such pastimes?
For the pleasure of his devotees. And the devotees then can help the non-devotees understand Krishna's pastimes by explaining them. That's what we're doing right now. To attract the hearts and the minds of his devotees and the non-devotees. Instead of being bewildered by sense gratification, they can be enamored by the wonderful, attractive, not easy to understand pastimes of Krishna. It draws the hearts and the minds of everyone to Krishna.
This is Taruni Radha Mataji. Question from Gandharvika. Why does Ram send Gopakumar to Dwaraka instead of Goloka when he knows Gopakumar is a Brajavasi?
It's the same topic as we discussed already. Why not go straight to, hit a home run and just cross all the bases and you're done. He's being given this opportunity to experience these different realms. Same answer as the previous question.
And the question is from Vaishnav. where does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reside in the spiritual world?
In Navadvip, it's a portion of Goloka.
So as we have also heard that does Gaur Lila also go on in the spiritual world?
Yes. In Svetadvip or Navadvip, that portion of Goloka, that's where.
This is Visalaksha Prabhu. We are in so-called material pleasures, but Gopa Kumar is not able to feel the sweetness of love even in Ayodhya.
He's not able to feel the sweetness of love even in Ayodhya.
Yeah.
He's able to experience the sweetness of love, but it's not the same sweetness that he's hankering for. There is a sweetness of love in Ayodhya.
So what steps should I take to aspire towards that sweetness of Gopa Kumar?
Keep hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and follow the process of bhakti that is described by Rupa Goswami. You'll get there.
And this is Radha again from...
Yes.
Yeah. After reaching Vaikuntha, can we go to any planet?
Well, we go where Krishna wants us to go.
This is Brajeshwari Mataji. In spiritual Ayodhya, what kind of pastimes are happening? Is Rama still ruling?
Yes. He's the ideal king, like it was being said. He's the ideal king. That's his Leela, his Nitya Leela.
This is Radha Kunja Bihari Prabhu. Can we consider the Viraja river as Tatastha Shakti as it lies between the spiritual and material energy?
No. It's not like super clear or well defined, but commonly the causal ocean and river Viraja are used interchangeably.
This is Vishwa Prabhu. Can one traverse back and forth between Vaikuntha planets and Goloka or between any planets in the spiritual world?
Why are you asking that question? Become qualified first. And go to a place where you will be happy and you won't need to travel anywhere, just you'll be happy.
This is Amritakeli Mataji. You spoke about the quality of greed. Does cultivating spiritual greed help to come out of the material greed?
No.
Or is the spiritual greed a quality of an elevated devotee?
Yes.
And will naturally manifest with progression of bhakti?
Yes. That spiritual greed is eagerness that's natural to the soul, and it just becomes magnified or intensified. Eagerness, and becomes, I can't live without it. It's greed.
This is Radha Priya Mataji. How to ask for forgiveness from a Vaishnava not with a selfish motive of...
Not with a what motive?
Selfish
Selfish motive. Okay.
Of, I should not fall down, but to ease the pain of the Vaishnava due to the offense I committed.
Well, this is one of the many ways to ask the question, how do I become pure? You know, it's the application of purity is specific, but behind the application is purity. So it's the focus on becoming pure and the mood of service that's for the pleasure of Krishna, that's what pure is. And then when you get to that, as you approach that, that's the means, then the request for forgiveness or whatever it is that one does is not self-motivated. It's just for the pleasure and service of Krishna. So do that in all the things that you do, and that becomes natural. Okay? That's it. Okay. So we're done. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.